questions. My colleague Amanda will be facilitating that with me.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Sonia. I do want to let you know we received feedback that no one's hearing drilling or the beeping, so you're all good.
Oh, phew.
On that front.
It was actually distracting me quite a bit.
You were giving us a good technique on how to, take control of your presentation and, redirect things a little bit. So that was good. So questions we have coming in for you. The first one is, when should I register with PMC and disability services, which I think you mentioned should happen during the summer, but does the student need to do it themselves, or will their special education teacher do it for them, or who does that for them, and when should they do it?
No, it's the student. So it's you, the student, that needs to register. Ideally, as soon as you have your student ID number. So once you have your offer of admission, I advise registering with the disabilities office, which wherever you have chosen to go, call the reception, book an appointment, and they will tell you what you need in order to prepare for that intake appointment. If you don't have that offer of admission yet, or you want to at least learn about what you should expect, then book that information meeting, and your parent can be present if needed. So you don't need to be on your own.
And as far as the date of the documentation, if it was done when the person was, let's say, 6 or 12 or 16 even, how old should it be, or is that something that they should wait to talk with their coordinator about?
So ideally, what we're looking for is for documentation that is no older than 5 years old. So if you're 6 years old and your documentation dates from back then it would be out of date. We want information, relevant information, or testing or adult measures that would give us recommendations for post-secondary. So if you were 16, then you could speak to your coordinator, and there's likely that would be sufficient and meet our criteria.
Excellent, thank you. And what skills and strategies should I focus on as I prepare to transition to university and post-secondary?
So right now, I think there was a word earlier when we did the poll everywhere is schedule. So I think an important piece is about planning, time management, developing a routine. So those are wonderful things that you can work on over the summer. So following kind of a schedule, because to be successful in university, the one skill that you need is to have good time management. If you have that, even if you have weaknesses and strengths in certain areas, but if you have good time management, you will be likely a lot more successful. And be curious, be willing to search things over the summer and start investigating because especially with the Student Experience Office and admissions, they will give you lots of wonderful and great informative information about what you need to do to prepare.
And Sonia, how much is the information that you shared with us today specifically about Carleton, or is this for like any college or university?
So today I talked, so in terms of the differences between high school and university, it's pretty much across the board. And that would be also across every institution across Canada has a disabilities office. So I would say it's very much similar. Except the AODA, the Ontario Disabilities Act. However, there's a lot of similarities here, even from universities and colleges.
So essentially, if I get into another university or college, I should go check out their website for their disability or accessibility office. Yes. To figure out how to register with that office and documentation I'll need.
Correct.
Okay, and those spaces will also have orientation or transitional events as well?
Correct.
Excellent. And our last one here is, and I think you talked about this a little bit, but what is the role of a coordinator or counselor, and how can they help me with my transition?
Right. So in terms of our role as a coordinator or advisor is really number one is to help you set up accommodations and learning support, help you understand the impact of your disability on the learning environment, especially in a university or college setting, right? There are things that you will need to do to adapt how you were studying, how you were approaching your learning. So we can guide you with that. We can direct you and refer you to learning supports and resources on campus. We can help you problem solve when you're faced with an issue, whether it's a wellness and mental health issue or an academic related issue.
Awesome. I think that's all of the questions we have time for at the moment for Sonia's session, but please keep the questions rolling in as we do have people answering them on the back end as well. Sonia, I'm going to turn it over to you before we end for today.
So thank you, Amanda. And thank you for attending my session, and I'll pass it on to Patty.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you very much, Sonia, and Amanda also. And please do keep the questions coming in.